We got a big update on Matthew Stafford. When is it time to worry about his back injury? And some surprise Rams training camp standouts. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramily, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, do us a huge favor. Join the party, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. Everyday listeners, everyday viewers, you want to support the channel every day. Give us a like, drop a comment, and podcast listeners, write us a review. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. I've covered LA sports for over a decade, 24/7 sports, Bleacher Report, SI, Dodgers Nation. And as always, I'm with the People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers. He's entering his 11th season as the pre-half and post-game show host for your Los Angeles Rams on ESPN 710 LA. Also hosts Travis and DeMarco. Greatest morning LA sports radio show. Go give that a listen. Watch it on YouTube as well. You can follow him at Travis Rogers. And on today's episode, we got a jam-packed show. We got our big takeaways from week 2 of Rams training camp. We'll talk some Matthew Stafford. Is it time to worry about Stafford? But first, today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. All right, Travis, so we have to talk about it again just because we got some new news on Matthew Stafford, and that is that he's seen the Rams back specialist for a second time. He's going to miss the practices versus the Dallas Cowboys. Question now is the worry meter trending up, or is this still just veteran quarterback that's missing practice? For me, that's kind of my job to worry. So I'm just becoming a little more worried because, I mean, it's close and we're getting closer and closer to the real thing.
Yeah, there's game on Saturday, right? I know it's an exhibition game, but there's game on Saturday. And when we start playing games, even exhibition games, it gets real. It is not we got a long way to go. They are playing a game on Saturday, which means the clock is officially running towards the start of the regular season. And look, you and I have talked about this. I think we've mentioned it on the pod a few times. We both have bad backs. We both have had back surgeries. We both have had that thing that sometimes you just wake up and it's like, I don't know what happened, man. Okay, and it's just like I didn't do anything. It hurts and I can't move and I can't do anything, and it just kind of decides to go away when it decides to go away. That he's gone back to see the doctor again, is that in any world good news? I don't think so. If you go to the doctor because something's wrong. You go to the doctor because something's not getting better. You go to the doctor because it's getting worse. Maybe it's a little different if you're an NFL quarterback. You just want to keep your eye on it or whatnot. But until I see him out there practicing, playing joint practice, I know he's not going to play in the preseason even if he was 100% healthy. But yeah, I think it's something I don't know if it's a 5-alarm fire worry, but it's one of those, hey, can we make sure? What I would love to hear is Matthew Stafford or Sean McVay say, I'm 100% healthy, I'm ready to go, I'm just waiting for the start of the regular season. Until I hear that, I'm going to be a little bit concerned.
Yeah, and the truth is that you're dealing with the best. It was reported that Matthew Stafford, after meeting with Vice President of Sports Medicine Reggie Scott and Dr. Robert G. Watkins, IV, who is a leading spine surgeon in the field, they determined that it was best to take it week to week. So there's no specific information as to what exactly it is about the back. But for me, it's that we're talking about joint practices at this point. And we know that the Rams, they don't care about preseason games, but They do take joint practices very seriously. Yep. And we saw in 2022 when he had the lingering elbow issues and you're just trying to get a feel for the offense and just building chemistry with Devontae Adams. I think that the fact they're both veterans and have been stars in this league for a long time, it won't be similar to the Allen Robinson, Matthew Stafford thing. No. And at that point, too, Cup was such a better receiver than he was towards the later stages. So I don't think there's too much to be made about that. But as you point out, it's just kind of one of those things where, like, if there's something lingering and he does give it a go a month from now against the Texans, and then he gets hit a couple times in that game, it's just like, hey, how'd you get up from those hits? Hey, I mean, how is he bouncing back? I think that's kind of the thing for me.
Yeah, it's a big thing. And you know, he's closing in on 40 years old. He's 37 years old. He's been in the league a long time. He's taken a lot of hits. He's a terrific player, but we're at that point where until you see it and he's healthy, you're always going to be worried about it. And we can talk about how important it is that Jimmy Garoppolo is a part of this team, and it is. And as far as backup quarterbacks go, I think Jimmy Garoppolo really is the best possible situation to have as a number 2 guy, a guy that has started in the league, a guy that's played playoff games and Super Bowls and all those things. And you could feel pretty good about it. But let's not be too cute, D-Mac, that if Matthew Stafford misses a big chunk of time, it's a huge problem. I mean, it's not just one of those, oh, that's unfortunate. I mean, that is a big problem. I'm with you. I think that his connection with Devontae Adams, his connection with the rest of the offense, that's going to be there just because those guys have been around the block a million times, and Stafford knows this offense inside and out, and Adams could get used to the McVay offense going through it with Jimmy G or anybody else. But yeah, until we see him out there, I'm always going to have a little bit of uncertainty as far as what's coming up next, because he's that with him, they got a really good shot. Without him, they don't have much of a shot. He's that important to what they do.
Yeah. And I will say that, I mean, hearing Sean McVay saying, quote, everything is in good shape and that he's making good progress. But I think for fans out there and people covering the team, it's just kind of a lack of clarity about the next step. And I think that the Rams are really smart in just not putting a timeline on this, because you want to see how it develops. And
I agree.
I think if you're the Rams, you really just want to be on the same page and you're in lockstep with Matthew Stafford. And that is how this sounds. But I think, too, it's just kind of like the excitement of this offseason, right? It was like, wow, this is a Rams team that truly looked like they were inching towards this down to the studs rebuild a couple years ago, and they hit on all these young players. And then now it's been a combination of, okay, hitting on young players, but also getting win now talent. So it's kind of like, all right, let's roll. Let's kind of see what happens this training camp. And now it kind of feels like you're in neutral just a little bit. I think that's why it kind of just feels the way it does.
You know, you wonder too, Doug, if this isn't an opportunity in a weird way, and not the way you'd want the opportunity to present itself, but maybe it's here anyway, for this team to transition. And we saw it a little bit last year, right? This team to transition from an offensive-led football team into a defensive-led football team, that if you're going to have to play with a quarterback that might not be 100% healthy, or you're going to have to play with a quarterback that maybe isn't the starter that you were hoping for, whether it's for a period of time or an extended period of time, that, hey, look, we're going to be one of these teams that sacks the quarterback, gets after the quarterback, stuffs all these things. Like they are loaded up on that defensive side, especially in their front. So maybe that's a way to kind of get off on a good start. We've seen the schedule. We know that the first 5 weeks they've got, they should be 3-2 at the worst, maybe 4-1 if you catch a good game here or there. So it's important they get off to a good start, but maybe they can do it with the defense instead of the offense. And I agree with you too on the timeline thing. Never put a timeline on something, because you can only let somebody down. You can only have a setback. If I say 4 weeks and it's 5, it means there's something wrong. Well, maybe it just took a little bit longer. I'm with you. Never put a timeline on something unless you absolutely have to.
No doubt about it. I think that's for me. I mean, like, I think my worry meter, if I had to put a number on it, it's still like a 6.5, just because you still have another joint practice after the Cowboys one. So August 13th, you have the joint practice with the Chargers. The one with the Cowboys starts this Tuesday, so that's not going to happen. And McVay said the Cowboys know, and then, quote, the Cowboys, I will say that's less than likely. With the Chargers, and I know I'm probably irritating you guys, but it truly is week to week. And what I don't want to do is set a timeline. I know he's made good progress. Saw Dr. Watkins today. Everything is in good shape, but to answer your question, the Cowboys is no, and then we'll see about the Chargers. So the estimate is the Chargers one, then I'm upgrading it probably like 1.5 to 2 levels. But I think that if everything they're saying is true and you're encouraged by the fact that he's going to for sure be ready by week 1, and then he will at least get one of these joint practices and hopefully just get into the mix, then I'll feel a little better. But if he misses that one, then I'm like, all right, man, what's up? You know?
Yeah. I'm at like a 5 right now. It's not, but and until he misses a real, their last preseason game is against Cleveland, right? So if we get all the way through Cleveland and he still really hasn't practiced with the team, then it goes to something way higher than 5 as you get closer to that opening game against the Texans. But right now, like I know we started saying that there's a game this weekend, and there is. For him being around as long as he is, I don't think that's incredibly important, but at least it's a signpost to where you'd like to see him practicing at least. Absolutely.
And honestly, I don't know if you heard about the book Back Mechanics by Stuart McGill.
No.
So I have the audio version, like George Costanza, he didn't want to read, so I had to get the audiobook version. I have the audio version. It allows you to share it if you get the person's email. So if someone can give me Matthew Stafford's email, I can just share it to him. And I think that there's a couple interesting things from this, and I don't know, maybe this could solve the problem. I'm not sure. I think it's worth a shot, though.
You're not an expert at risk management, are you? That's not why
there
you
go. There, that was the one. Yep, I love it. Yep. Hey man, that was back in the day. You had the tapes, right? I mean, geez.
Yeah. And then when you upgraded to CDs, right? It's a whole totally different animal.
That's some next level stuff. But coming up next, there is a quarterback at Rams training camp that is really standing out, and we got more camp takeaways. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
This episode of Locked On Rams is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. It is the best time of the year. NFL kickoff is just around the corner, and that means fantasy football season is back in full swing. And this year, Yahoo Fantasy is turning things up with a fantasy football experience like never before. This year, me and Locked On Rams, we're playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you are a first-timer or a veteran entering your 1 millionth league, right? What's great about Yahoo Fantasy, they're always rolling out updates, and this month are wild in the best way. One of the favorite features, the new guillotine leagues, right? They just dropped. Every week, the lowest scoring team is eliminated, and the last one standing wins. It's a super fun way to do it. It happens really fast, and it is a great way to jump your feet into the fantasy football world. So to celebrate 28 years of fantasy football greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days throughout August. And to kick it off, they just dropped that guillotine league, like I mentioned, a killer new way to play fantasy football on Yahoo. Lowest scoring team eliminated each week until there's one team left standing. And with the season around the corner, now is the time to get your league together and give this new mode a try. So if you're more into the classics, you can still play in head-to-head private leagues or join a public league. So stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL.
And we are off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Also, but a big shout out to those every listeners out there watching and listening to every single episode of Locked On Rams. Cannot thank you enough. And now is the time to join that Everyday Listeners Club. All you have to do is watch or listen or do both to every single episode of Locked On Rams, and you won't miss a thing about your favorite football team. All right, Travis, so here in our second segment, got some more training camp standouts, and we're going to start with Stetson Bennett because, yes, Stafford's been out, but it's allowed Stetson Bennett more opportunities to work with the first team. He's created a lot of buzz. Mike LaFleur, Sean McVay, they've really sung his praises early on. And I think at this point, it's possible that he's going to make that 53-man roster for the third year in a row. Is going to be kind of in the mix, and he's really looking like he's turned a corner in his career, like the maturity, the throws he's made. I mean, looks like he's an NFL backup quarterback at this point.
Yeah, look, this is what everybody hopes for when somebody gets a second chance, right? This is exactly what you're trying to give somebody, and your hope is they take a second chance and they treat it the way that you hope that it's treated, with respectfully, and you go and get it. I would have been so wrong, Doug, that when Stetson Bennett a couple of years ago was just like, I'm out of here. I got to go get squared away, whatever it actually was. I'm still not entirely clear on why he needed to be away for a period of time. And quite frankly, it doesn't really matter. It's none of my business. But it was like, all right, they're going to do this. They're going to bring him back. They're going to cut him. And then, maybe he lands somewhere else. Maybe he doesn't. Instead, they bring him back and they give him a chance to rejoin the team. They give him a chance to continue to grow as a football player. And here we are with him, likely, like you said, to make the team as the emergency quarterback, the third string quarterback. And, who knows? Look, nobody wants to see him play. And I'm not saying that because he's not a good player. And who knows? Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. You just don't want to be down to your third quarterback. That's never a good sign. But I give them all the credit in the world because usually, it's come back and then they're gone. And then you hear a story or another story and then they're out of the league and they're a regular guy like you and me, just living their life and you're out of the NFL. But that he's managed to kind of get it squared away is a real testament to him and how hard he's worked.
Yeah, and I think for him, it's first winning your coaches over, and clearly he's done that. When Michael LaFleur was asked about Stetson Bennett and how much he's improved year to year, his response was, how much time you got? Like I said the other day, he's grown up so much. He stays in a good spot mentally, things like that. I think for Stetson, the big key is, yes, we know that there's been a lot of improvements during the training camp session. We also know those numbers during the preseason. More interceptions than touchdowns, things like that. 3 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. And if he goes out in the preseason after all the momentum that he's had in the right direction and he throws 3 interceptions and 1 touchdown, you're going to see people do a 180 on him, fans, coaches, everything. So I think the big thing for him is just kind of not trying to do too much in these preseason games and almost just like not putting himself to lose it versus, hey, like you don't have to overperform and try to play out of your ability to try to impress people, because now you're competing for a starting job with this team, right? So for him, I just kind of like, don't mess this up because things are going well for you right now.
Just make all the stops, right? Like, and what I mean by that is just we're asking you to drive the bus. We're not asking you to drive it through traffic. We're not asking you to, we just stop where you're supposed to stop. Don't hit anything and get the bus back into the barn at the end of the day. That's what you're asking him to do. And to your point, if he can go out in a preseason game and throw a few touchdowns, that's fine. I would be impressed. But there's more to lose than there is to gain. The way he can gain is by not throwing picks, by not having those moments where it's like, what is he looking at? Like, let's make sure that you make all the stops. Don't turn it over. Don't have a bunch of wild decisions. If you can make a play with your legs, great, go make a play with your legs. But, like the old cliche, any drive that ends with a kick is a good drive. A punt, a field goal, or a PAT, all of these are great options. Just don't turn it over because the bar is low. We just can't get below the bar. We just got to stay at the bar. And we'll see. Again, he's a third-string quarterback. It's not like you're expecting him to go out there and throw for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. Just don't throw picks. Don't fumble. Don't make bad decisions. Don't put your receivers in harm's way. If he can do that, that's a win for him and the Rams.
So I like that you brought that up, that he's a third-string quarterback, because I was just about to say, Travis, that he's got to be one of the most discussed third-string quarterbacks in definitely Rams history, but possibly NFL history when you got to look at. I mean, this is a guy that, he has persevered throughout his career at every football level, right? He goes from 5th string at Georgia to winning 2 national championships at Georgia. There's something about the guy that I think appeals to fans. I think I noticed down in the comments when we talk Stetson Bennett, there's a lot of Georgia fans. I'm honestly pretty confident there's a lot of his family members that comment on our videos, and I'm not even joking. And they say, oh, this is a guy, wait until he gets his chance. You think he's just going to be a backup D-Mac? He's going to be a starter one day when Matthew Stafford is gone. And to that, I say that that's not what's in the plans for him with this organization. So to kind of not have that as the realistic expectation, I think puts him in a much better spot to succeed in the role that they have laid out for him.
He's a victim of his own success / fame / notoriety, right? That if he were Stetson Bennett, who was a capable college football player at, Toledo, and he got drafted in the 5th round or the 4th round or whatever, and he came in and he struggled to make the team and was a bag. You'd be like, okay. Problem is, he went to the University of Georgia and won the national championship a couple of years in a row. And then, so we know his name. We know what he looks like. We know what the expectations are. That when you're on a team like that, it's like, okay, he's the quarterback of a national champion. You have a certain, idea in your mind of what that means. He's not that guy. If he turned out to be a starter in this league, good for him. I'm rooting for the guy, but I don't see it. He's the wrong size. I don't know if he's, got the athletic ability to do what smaller quarterbacks typically need to do. Kind of think Kyler Murray, right? That can create some things off schedule with their legs. I don't know if he's that, but that doesn't mean he can't have an NFL career. He certainly can have an NFL career. If he's a starter, good for him, and I'll eat a little crow, but I don't see that in his future. But that doesn't mean he can't have a long NFL career.
Yeah, that brings me to my next thing. It's like, what's wrong with the ceiling being career backup? Like,
Nothing.
What's wrong with that for someone like him who's a little undersized, right? I mean, when you look at the Rams, you've basically been developing a backup quarterback for 3 years at this point. And I just look for anyone that thinks that Stetson Bennett has a chance to, I think, be like the long-term solution at quarterback. It just doesn't align with, I think, what is why Sean McVay's continue his career here, right? He wants the high upside quarterbacks. I mean, my quarterback, it's Arch Manning, and Stetson Bennett is old enough to be Arch Manning's dad at this point. You know what I mean? Like, let's be honest. Like, I mean, so you kind of look at the ceiling of development, and it's kind of not there upside wise. But I'm happy he's performing well. I will withhold my full evaluation on this version of Stetson Bennett. I don't want to go too crazy on him, and then all of a sudden he throws 3 picks in the preseason game. It looks like the same old Stetson Bennett that we've seen in the NFL. But this is only a positive for the Rams, so I feel good about it.
Me too. If they have a guy that can help them in practice, they have a guy that can do the things that they need to get done that aren't starting on Sundays, then good for him. I'm rooting for him. I want all the Rams to have some success. I hope that he stays healthy. I hope that he looks good on Sunday or Saturday, I should say, against the Dallas Cowboys. All of these things are good, but the problem is if we're talking about him in October, November, December, and he's on the field, that means a lot of stuff has gone haywire. So hopefully, and I don't mean this disrespectfully at all, I really, truly don't, but this is the Stetson Bennett season where the games don't count. Hopefully we're not talking about him much when the games do.
See, that's the thing. It's like backups, the reality is they always play at some point.
Yeah.
Right? It's just at what capacity? Is it okay? The QB1 goes down. We need him for a couple of games. We need him to just be competent out there and help us win games and be competitive. Or is it just mop up duty and everything's great resting starters, right? So they're going to play in some capacity. And just kind of ask yourself, do you envision him in a regular season game? And I think that's kind of where it's like, okay, then let's take that next step when we get there. But we're not going to anoint him, right? Like the Bill Parcells.
Right.
We're not just going to anoint him. And we got a comment one day, Travis, down below that this is the Keep It 100 Rams podcast with 100 emoji, right?
Yeah.
So we kind of have to be consistent with that. We're not going to just say this is like a future first ballot Hall of Fame. We got to keep 100 with the fans out there, right? So
yeah. I feel like we would be doing everybody a disservice if we said that everybody was awesome every day. Because that's not true.
Yeah, absolutely. But there is a receiver that we've been talking about in the offseason that we were hoping was going to be awesome. And so far, it looks like that he has been. And we're going to talk about that next on Locked On Rams.
All right. You ever wish that managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it absolutely can. So whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your very own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. And Monarch Money, it's more than just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. So you can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth, right? So when you sign up for Monarch Money, you're going to notice a lot of different things. One of the things that I really liked was how it kind of categorizes all of your different spending. So you realize, oh, am I really spending that much on takeout? Am I really spending that much on streaming subscriptions and all of these different things? So it's a lot more than you might expect. And all of a sudden, you're making that step towards making better financial decisions. So all your stuff is in one place. You get to see it all in one easy interface, all with Monarch Money. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year.
And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, Travis, so some more training camp takeaways. Who's standing out? And we're now going to talk about the last pick for the Rams in the 2025 NFL Draft, and that is Kanata Mumfield, receiver out of Pitt. So we talked about him in the offseason, just the upside that he has, the fact the Rams got him where they did, and the Rams just really having an eye for receivers that fit their system. And he's been really good, really standing out. A lot of the videos, a lot of the reports on him. And of course, you always got to think about what teammates are saying of him. And like, I think when Davante Adams says something about you, it definitely carries more weight. He said about Mumfield, quote, that he's, quote, killing some of our better corners on some amazing routes. And that, I mean, that's kind of, he's killing some. I mean, I like that. I mean, that's a little intense. By the way, though, when are we ever going to see a teammate like talk negatively about their teammate during training camp? Like, honestly, for real, he was kind of mid. I was expecting
he wasn't
more.
very good today. Yeah, right. No, you're not going to get a lot of that. But I will say that Adam's saying that he was killing some of his other
crazy
teammates. That is high praise. And I don't think he means it negatively towards the defensive guys. I think it means that Mumfield is doing some things that are, turning some heads along the way. Look, you said it a second ago, D-Mac, and I think it's the best point when it comes to a player like Mumfield. And you could put Nakua in there. You could put a handful of different guys that they've gone through. The Rams are really good at not just finding guys that make the team late in the draft, but guys that make the team and contribute right away late in the draft. They've had a really strong track record of finding starters outside of the top 3 rounds. And I'm not saying that Mumfield's going to be a starter, but what he can be is somebody that contributes. Look, this is the NFL. Guys get hurt all the time. Guys underperform. Guys get opportunities. And all of a sudden, if he's out there and he makes a play or two, well, you're going to give him a play or two more, or a play or two more, or a play or two more. And all of a sudden, he's a regular part of what you do. So that he's getting praise from a player like Adams, that they're, these are why these preseason games maybe aren't meaningful in the way that you and I like to talk about as far as, playoff seeding and all this stuff, but they're meaningful for guys like Mumfield. They're meaningful for guys to kind of turn your head. This is how you make the team. And the only way you can get playing time on the team is to make the team. And you make the team in moments like this. And it's exciting because there's always 1 or 2 guys every year for the Rams that come late in the draft that end up being hey, man, we got to steal in this guy or that guy. Last year, Bo Limmer was a 7th round pick. He started half the year for the team. We had no idea that it was going to be like that. And here we are.
And that is why I love that you brought that up. I was just about to say is that the Rams have proof of concept to these players that it does not matter where you're drafted. It's merit-based. And yes, of course, it's not like he's going to climb up and he's not better than Puka Nacua and Davante Adams and likely never will be. But the truth is that you got Jordan Whittington and Tutu Atwell and kind of that batch. If you're climbing up there and you can make the conversation interesting, we know that Puka's dealt with some injuries. Davante Adams is a guy that is on the older side of his position. The point is you got to stay ready to contribute. I think that's the thing with Mumfield. Is like he shouldn't see this as, I'm a late round pick that's developing. It's cool. I've overperformed. It's, hey, like if you're good, you're good. And if we think you're good enough, if the opportunity presents itself, like you said, you could get more opportunities than you thought you were, more stabs, more things going your way. And if you take advantage of those, we know the Rams, they like to ride that hot hand early if someone can prove themselves.
Absolutely. Look, this is not only, you and I talk about the Dodgers. We both do Dodger podcasts as well, Locked on Dodgers, Dodgers Nation. Like we do our stuff, but this is what the Dodgers do really well. It's like if you come up and play well, you get to stay. Right? That if you get hits, we're going to continue to use you. If you get outs on the mound, we're going to continue to use you. So when you look at a team like the Rams, if Mumfield or whoever, I'll use Limmer's example. Hey, we're down 2 cents. We need you. Okay. Can you play? Yeah. Okay. Stay out there and do it. There is a path here that, to your point, I don't care if you're an undrafted free agent. I don't care if you're a first rounder. I don't care if you're a 7th rounder or anywhere in between. If we put you out there and you have success, we're going to continue to put you out there and you can create a career for yourself here. And if not here, maybe somewhere else and put on tape that you're an NFL player. And this is another huge part of this part of the season. You are trying to make your team, but there are 31 other teams out there too that are looking at all these things. And maybe the Rams have a surplus of wide receivers and they don't need this guy or that guy, but another team might have a shortage in that same spot and you can earn a spot there as well. These are important times for guys like that.
It's another reason to, like you were so football deprived that like any football is going to be great and you're going to love preseason, but it's another storyline to look at during preseason is guys that will play that you should pay attention to, and it should be on your radar. And Mumfield is certainly one of those guys. By the way, yeah, shout out to Locked On Dodgers. Travis, the host of that show, along with Harry Ruiz, play-by-play, Spanish play-by-play for the Raiders and USC. I got a question though. Like, how many Dodgers hats does Harry Ruiz have? Like, is he sick of the Dodger blue one? Like purple ones? Like,
he's got them all, man.
Like, I mean, how many does he have? Like,
well, he did mention to me that he was going to see how many consecutive days he could go with a different one, and we're well into the third week, so we're somewhere getting close to 15 at this point. D-Mac, there you go.
Where are you at? Like, you just like an OG dot here. This is the real hat. There you go.
Ah, goodness gracious, a Bruin. No, look, you know me. I got two just original Dodger hats. They're both crusty and sweaty and shrunk and faded, but
you go like the Darren Dreifert route.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Minus getting the bubonic plague, though.
Yeah, I don't want that.
That's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. And you can follow the people's champ, Mr. Travis Rogers, at Travis Rogers. And until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.